Alright, so I wanted to come on today. This whole thing happened overnight with Evander Kane, and I debated back and forth whether or not I was going to say anything. Here's what I'll say, first of all. If you're triggered by somebody who can see all sides of the story, just stop watching right now. The more I read about this thing, the more I realized that I have personal experience with almost everything that's going on here. Contentious divorce? Check. Having to deal with a family member with a gambling addiction? Check. Having my ex tell people that I was abandoning my children? Check. Seeing things that other people have said about their spouses out of anger and frustration, while professionally as a life coach, knowing that what they were publicly stating was not true, check. So, you might say I'm trained professionally and by life to see all sides of the stories, and maybe that's why, I was talking with some people yesterday about how, like, with a lot of my fans and followers, like we were joking that I was going to do a Jaws family tree where, like, I was at the top and, like, we were going to draw arrows to, like, all my fans and followers, but then there was going to be arrows to, like, who was blocking who, and, like, because so many of the people that enjoy my content don't enjoy each other so much. So it might be that my ability to see the good in everybody and see what everybody's going through, that might be part of it. So here's the first thing I'll say. Obviously, we know that Kane has had a history with the gambling, so, okay. All right. I'm going to approach this from a couple different angles, and I thought this was going to be a quick in and out video, and it's not. From the point of view of the kids. Oh, that's the other thing. Not only have I had my ex tell my kids that I was going to abandon them, but I was actually abandoned by my mother at 3 years old. So all over the angles here, I have them covered with personal experience. To this day, I don't genuinely know what happened with my mother. I've heard various stories from my father. I've heard various stories that my father has told other people, and I've heard stories from my uncle, and none of the stories, no two versions are the same. And it has an effect. You can talk about it not having an effect, but it does. My daughter and I had a fantastic relationship up until about the age of 12, 13, and then it didn't get repaired until she was about 16. And that was because, long story short, my ex was telling her stories about me that were not true, and it was only discovered by Kyle and Liliana because they got to talking, and the stories that they had heard were not the same. So again, I've got experience with knowing what it's like to be abandoned and knowing what it's like to be publicly being called out for abandoning when that's not even remotely close to what's happening. So what I'm asking, I'm looking on Twitter, and everybody is just, not everybody, I use that word too much. A lot of people are just using this as a blanket. You're either pro-man, pro-woman, and it has nothing to do with sex, gender. It has nothing to do with any of that. Obviously, if anything that she is saying is untrue or being misrepresented because she's in a understandably heightened emotional state, that's a problem. Obviously, on the same hand, if what she is saying is completely truthful and accurate. It's two separate problems, because number one, it's a problem how Kane is acting, but also, yes, does she have the right to go on Instagram and say something? I see so many people talking about how could he do this to his kids, and she has a right to go public. And that part I fully understand. However, the same people that are so concerned about how him abandoning his kids are going to affect the kids, nobody's talking about how what effect the mother publicly outing the father is going to have on those kids. Even if what she is saying he is doing is true, she's exacerbating the damage being done to those kids tenfold by publicly outing him. It's not about she has the right to do it, and it's not about women should keep their mouths shut. Nobody is saying that. But there's a big difference between going behind closed doors and outing him to his employer, to his team, to his family. There's a big difference there between doing that and now those kids, eventually, they're going to grow up. They're not going to be, you see what I'm saying? She's pregnant with one, and I guess the other one is younger. Eventually, they're going to grow up, and they're going to hear all this stuff about their father. And yeah, she has the right to say it, but should she be doing it? She's not taking into consideration at all the long-term effects that it will have on those children. And I'm here to tell you, there's going to be a long-term effect. I personally guarantee it. I've been literally on both sides of that coin, both of them. Now, the gambling thing. Who knows what's true? If you read what she wrote, she alludes to it. She uses, I think she uses the word, he's probably doing this. What I can tell you is that another personal example, that I can't completely give the exact details, but I'll suffice it to say this way. When I first got Lyme disease, the first year or two, when we didn't know what was wrong with me, my libido was non-existent. Okay, we'll just put it that way. No interest. And I know I've seen at least 2, maybe 3 emails, Facebook messages where my ex was telling people things that were horrible about me, that were completely untrue, that she knew they were untrue, as the reasons to why my libido was so depressed. Meanwhile, I'm going and getting brain scans and I'm dizzy and I can't drive. She knew these things were untrue, but she was in such a state that she wanted to get that feedback from somebody so that they would agree with her with how horrible I am. I'm not saying that's what she's doing here. I'm saying that I've got personal experience with somebody doing that to me, and in addition, in my years as a massage therapist and a life coach, I've seen some horrible, horrible things be said about people on social media that I know wasn't true, because I was intricately involved in the details of what the actual truth was, because people would confide in me the truth, and then I would see what they would post on social media. And I'm here to tell you, so much of what you see on people's social media is crap. It's not their real life, for the good and for the bad. People manipulate social media to elicit a response from other people that they're not getting at home. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying this is what she's doing. I'm saying the possibility exists that this is what she's doing. And regardless of whether she's telling the truth or not, she's not taking into consideration the effect it's going to have on the kids. Now, in terms of Kane, I've had a family member that has had a gambling problem, a lifelong, hardcore, lose all your money type of gambling problem. And they think it's better and they go back, and they think it's better and they go back. It's a real life addiction, and for somebody like that, separate from the kid issue here, okay? Let's separate these two issues out here, okay? The gambling is a separate issue. For somebody like that, they need help. They don't need public humiliation, okay? They need true help. And if this is the reality, if it's really that they're selling the house because he's that far in debt, I know he's done the whole bankruptcy thing and everything like that, but we don't know the real true intricate details. We know what his wife, who's upset, said on Instagram. It could be true, but we don't know. They could be, if they're in the middle of getting a divorce, it could be simply that she has to leave the house and she's trying to, garner public support to be able to stay in the house, which you can't blame her there, right? You're used to a certain lifestyle. You want your kids to grow up a certain way. So, if that's really the biggest problem here with his gambling, and if he was actually, and I want to say this is a big if, but if he was actually throwing games, it's hard for a hockey player to throw a game, but it's possible, okay, right? I mean, if you're a goaltender, you certainly could throw a game, clearly. You can do a knock-up job. A hockey player, I've seen people saying hockey players don't have that much control. If given enough ice time and being put in the correct situation, they do. They could clearly allow a late game goal, overtime, get beat. They still got the goalie that could save them, but so they can't do it completely on their own unless they're the goaltender. But it's not impossible. So if that's legit happening, obviously I completely agree with the NHL investigating it and any punishments he gets and everything. But this is an addiction, no different than drugs or anything else like that. Okay? And the same people that are killing him online right now for this gambling addiction, if his wife had come out publicly asking for he needs help because he has a drug addiction, the reaction would be completely different. People would say, hey, this man needs help. But for some reason, because it's gambling, we're acting as though it's differently. Okay? It's a chemical reaction. It's no different than drugs. Okay? These people get a chemical reaction that they become addicted to from the gambling. So if this is true, he needs help. He doesn't need to be killed in the public eye. And that's why I'm separating out the two issues, because you can see from previous examples, it is possible that what she's saying about the gambling is true. We don't know if he's been betting on his own games. I mean, if he's betting on his team to win, I know there's rules and laws and all of that, but if you're betting on yourself to win, it's kind of like, why, why would this be a problem? I mean, I get the technicalities of the rules. I'm not arguing that, but I'm saying from a common sense point, if I go to Vegas and I bet that I can get 2,000 subscribers in a week, this is a good thing. I'm going to bust my ass to see if I can make it happen. The thing that's conflated now is the thing with the kids, right? Because not only did she throw it all out there about the gambling, but then she added the whole thing with the kids. And for me personally, like I said, I have experienced all of these angles personally. And I'm telling you that, yes, for the people out there saying, I see so many people on Twitter saying, so I guess you hate women, or I guess women should just shut up. No. But how and when and to whom you speak to does matter. She's on one hand killing him for what she says, abandoning the kids. So if that part is true, he deserves the flack that he's getting for that, okay? And on the flip side, again, I think anybody who knows me knows how I am about my children. And yet, when she was upset and wanting a specific sympathetic reaction from my own kids, from our own kids, she crafted a story that made it look as though I was getting ready to abandon my kids. Okay? Me, personally. So, optics are everything. Anybody who is in an intimate relationship with anybody can take how it looks from the outside, craft the story, and get a sympathetic reaction. So all I'm asking people to do is give the man an opportunity to publicly come out and talk what this is about. Now, the other thing I would like to see is she has said her piece publicly. It is in the public realm now. Unfortunately, much of the damage is already going to have been done to these kids. But stop. Stop. Get this out of the public eye. Okay, people have a short attention span, a short memory, okay? This is not going to be good for her kids in the future. It doesn't matter if they get divorced and she finds another man and it's a stepdad and all of that. These kids are still going to grow up with their blood father having been publicly outed like this, and who knows if he's ever going to get the opportunity to explain his side of the story. My daughter walked around for almost 3 years thinking that I had attempted and planned to abandon them, and it was only discovered by accident because my ex couldn't keep her story straight between the two. It was only discovered by accident that that wasn't true, and then they both came to me and asked for my side of the story. So this is just a mess for everybody involved. And I hate to see what social media is doing, not just to him, but to the family as a whole. Because even if everything that she is saying is true, while on one hand I understand her frustration and her need, desperate need to somehow get help, there were ways to do this behind closed doors. Not because she doesn't have the right to say anything, not because women should shut up, not because of anything other than you don't need this in the public eye for the kids to eventually see. That's why you keep it quiet behind closed doors. That's what leads to children growing up respecting mom and dad equally. That's what leads to children growing up and feeling good about themselves because they feel good about both of their blood parents. So, in my opinion, while she had every right to feel the way she feels, especially if it's true, she significantly exacerbated the situation and is causing those kids quite possibly more damage down the road than the actions of their father, in the sense that even if he gets his act together now, this stain will always be out there publicly for them to point to, and he may never get an opportunity, depending on the future of the relationship, to smooth things over with them. So, yeah, I batted back and forth on whether or not I would make this video, and then I realized, geez, I checked every box. Every part of this story I have personal experience with. So, I really wish that even if it's all true, and I can completely understand how she feels, the need to get the support. I do understand that. But it should have been done differently for the sake of the kids. If most of her feelings are because she feels like this is harming the children, then she should have thought about her actions and the effect it was going to have on the children. This only makes things significantly worse for them, long term. They're not going to be little kids forever. Eventually they're going to grow up and have questions, and it could easily backfire on her. I've seen it happen with clients. I've seen it happen in my own life. It could easily backfire on her when those children eventually reach the age to ask the pertinent questions. they're gonna, she can't keep him from Evander forever. Eventually, there's going to need to be a discussion, and if those kids find out that some of what she said might not have been exactly 100% accurate and true, but she was emotional, it's going to cause a rift between those kids and the mother. So it's just a disaster all the way around. It just absolutely, it hurts me because I know exactly what he's going through. I know exactly the space she's in, and I know where those kids are going to be. And I'm telling you, this is going to have an effect on them. So when you're busy on social media disparaging any of them, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, that eventually their kids are going to see this. And this is something that should have been handled out of the eyes of the kids. That's it. That's all I have to say. Live streams at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time today. I will see you guys then.